It is Tuesday, December 19th, 2017, approximately 4 p.m. The Personnel and Human Services Committee will come to order. Roll call, please.
Ryder.
Here.
Durantek.
Here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Here.
Luna.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
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 Warren Pleasant.
The minutes of November 21st,
So moved.
2017. Support. And moved and supported. All in favor signify by the usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Public input. Is there anyone here from the gallery who wishes to address the commission today? No? Seeing none? Petitions and Communications. Under A, from the Personnel Director, vacancy in the Department on Aging, in-home service worker.
So moved.
Support. Then moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor signify by using the same sign.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Under B, Health Officer, agreement with Michigan Department of Environmental, seeking approval of MDEQ agreement. What's your pleasure? So moved. Support. And moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by the usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Under C, Office of Assigned Counsel, the October 2017 report. What is your pleasure?
Move to receive. Support.
And move and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by the usual sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Are there any referrals? Unfinished business? New business? Miscellaneous? Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see Joe Kirkowski's here. If I can, I have a question for you. Maybe you could give me an answer on what's going on a state level. You know, we've got a lot of time invested with us county commissioners dealing with the septic code. Can you give me a little review of what's going on in Lansing? Are they any closer to putting something together? And how's Bay County doing with our future with the septic code?
Last I was told, the state is looking for somebody to take the draft version they have now and bring it back to life. So they're looking for a legislator, a representative, or somebody to take that role. And from what I know, nobody has done that yet. I know the governor himself has made it a point to try and get that resurrected and do something with it. But as far as I know right now, there has not been any movement at the state level. Locally, we have a draft in place. It hasn't gone anywhere since then. We looked at some different ideas on funding, which kind of fizzled out. If we resurrect our code, we have to decide what direction we want to go, if we want to mimic what the state is doing, or if we're looking at something completely different. And then how we proceed with that code will affect what happens in Bay County as far as funding sources. If we make things, let's say, more strict and we go out and look for problems, then we're hoping that we're not creating undue hardship by creating a code that's too stringent.
I don't think we're looking to put hardship on anyone. I think what we're looking for is to continue to increase the quality of our waters and the environment. So maybe if we could, starting in 2018, we can bring back, you know, the Mike Durancheks and the Mr. Lutzes and try to get something going in 2018. So
Yeah, we can.
okay.
The current code as it sits is a 2004 version. It was the last time it was updated. Since then, there have been many improvements to the code as far as treatment and water quality. And I know I did a PowerPoint here a few years ago on our technologies and what we're using. So even though the code hasn't updated, we've continued to improve what we're doing on our end. So it isn't so much sewage disposal anymore, it's sewage treatment. So any of the systems we design are based on treatment to protect the resources. The code itself gets into beyond what we're doing to protect the environment. There's more as far as what the state is looking at to bring all the counties together. So we're enforcing rules the same as the county next to us. as far as elevation to water table techniques that we use for water treatment. And that's where the state needs to catch up, so every county is doing the same thing. It makes it easier for people in the industry that go out and install systems so they know what's going on. And Michigan is unique in the fact that we have 83 counties and 42 health districts and over 42 different codes in the state, which I know you know that, not everybody does. And to bring everybody together is a huge task.
Right.
And it keeps failing and failing and failing. Every time they try and put it forward, there's people that balk and say, no, we don't want to do it. And I think it's getting closer and closer to the point where I think something will continue.
Maybe in 2018, we could try to get at the same table the Brian Elders and the Mike Green and see whether or not we can get some help in Lansing. And like, I would love to be parallel to what the state's going to want to do, and maybe what we propose might be a good pilot for the state to follow. So, well, thank you.
Yeah, we were working toward that at one point, of
Yep.
doing a pilot. And unfortunately, the representative that was working diligently toward that passed away, and that kind of crippled that whole
And you
thing.
had Patty Burkholz that was working pretty hard to do that also, and since she's no longer a legislator, so it kind of
Okay.
sits on the desk somewhere. So, all right.
I'll just add a note, in second week of January at Michigan State University, there's a conference that I chair, Michigan Onsite Wastewater Conference. And during one of our nightly banquets, there are several representatives and senators that tend to come and show up that are interested in what we're doing, and we do talk to them about that. So I will have some talks with whoever shows up, and we never know who will be there.
Can you shoot an email out to us on the specifics, the
I
time
can,
and the
and
date?
actually, any one of you are invited. You could join. We just need to know ahead of time who wants to be there for the banquet. It's a great dinner. I can send all of you the information.
That'd be great.
Welcome to attend. Actually, any part of the conference, if you were looking to attend the conference, I can send that information out.
If you forward the information, I appreciate it.
I can do that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Durancheck.
Thank you.
Anything else?
It was kind of the consensus at the last meeting we had that we were going to kind of wait and see or try and get with the state rather than go off on our own because, you know, right now, like you said, there's 42 different codes out there. So the manufacturers of these goods, what's required over here might not work in Saginaw County. And if we could come up with a state code, which would be ideal, then everybody's on a level field. New technology comes out, it's either going to be yes, it's approved, or it's not, but it's the same all over. So, I mean, I think, as Commissioner Krieger says, the key to this whole thing is we have to get our legislators involved and, you know, they got to get on this here because this is important. You know, we figure what, between 11 and 14,000 septic fields out there, and, you know, it's those that are failing may end up out in our bay. You know, I've got 6 townships out there, obviously, as you know, Joel, that, you know, most of them are septic fields.
Right.
I think we want to, you know, and I would appreciate the same information if you would about that conference. I think that'd be great.
Sure, I'll forward that out.
You'll try. You're not safe driving.
The state, by the way, does have something called the criteria for subsurface sewage disposal. Last it was updated, all was in, I believe, 1994, but most of it is a 1970s document. They have a new draft of that. They have been unable to pass it. Nobody seems to want to do anything with it, but it's sitting there in form, ready to go. And it's a new set of criteria that looks at performance standards for systems and a different way to look at sewage disposal within the state. They don't share it with many people, but the local health departments are aware of it. We have copies of it, but we can't use it because it hasn't been passed. They have that. And I was in Pinconning, the meeting Pinconning has monthly, you were there.
Yeah.
They were asking me questions also about our code, and they were a little upset about possibly having to pay money monthly, bi-monthly toward a code to pay toward funding for the septic systems, and I know they were very upset about that. So, because that is something that has been talked about, is trying to find a funding source and having people that have septic systems pay small fees, and then people got wind of that, and it was kind of a negative aspect of what happened. And I know they weren't very happy. I put their minds to ease and said there's nothing like that happening anytime soon, as far as we know. But,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Joel.
okay. Anything else?
No, thank you, Joe.
Okay.
We have one more item from the Personnel Director, and that is to fill the position of Department Director for Administrative Services Department. Support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by the usual sign. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried. Okay, we're under announcements and adjournment. Oh, excuse me. Executive Vice.
I'd just like to comment on the last item that just appeared on the agenda and say that a few weeks ago, our Director of Administrative Services announced to me that after 4 decades of stellar public service
Be nice, Jim.
to Bay County, and with some additional grandchildren that Bay, at least one grandchild that is in the offing, as well as the grandchildren, beautiful grandchildren, children that her and her husband Mike have, that she is thinking about closing out her career, will close out her career as of February 1st. And it's going to be difficult to replace this lady, right? So, yeah, just want everybody to know, Debbie is irreplaceable, as you all know. We're going to miss her, but we certainly are grateful for 4 decades of outstanding public service. 4 decades, it's a long time. She deserves a good retirement, right?
She was 18 when she started,
maybe some
right?
time to get into a warmer climate and also spend a lot more time with her family. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Support.
All support, all in favor, signify by the usual sign. Aye. Opposed, same sign, we're adjourned.
Yep.
It's 4:20 on December 19th, 2017. I'd like to call it order the meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Sure. Durancheck.
Here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Pigick.
Here.
Coonan. Here. Ryder.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
All members present.
We stand for invocation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this afternoon thanking you for the guidance and understanding that you have given this Board of Commissioners. Lord, we ask again today for your help and direction to carry on and do the work that has been placed before this Board by election to office. May your divine providence help them to benefit every citizen of this community. In your holy name we ask this. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda today will be citizen input. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and speak before the board, please do so now.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, Executive, and staff. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Wanda Beamlander. I'm the president of the USW Local 15157, the paraprofessional staff of Bay County. And the reason that I'm here today is regretfully I'm going to go with my speech so I don't fray off. Regretfully I stand before you in this public speaking forum regarding the proposed changes on page 78, the elimination of the lab coordinator position at the commission level. This position is covered by the full-time bargaining unit, and it was alarming for us to see this come up last Friday, since there has been no discussion, no proposals from the department head, from the executive level, or in this process to see it at the commission level. And we understand the commission does have the right to eliminate positions within the budget process. However, We also believe that this position is essential to the health department operations and are open to discussion, we're open to the discussion of the matter. We understand that if you eliminate the position, our position is that the work must cease also. We ask that you maintain the position in the full-time unit, or we move the work that needs to be done by this particular position within the full-time unit, which is in accordance to the contract. And if I'm unclear on my statement, or you have any questions regarding this matter, I'm more than free to answer them, and I will be here for the remainder of the board meeting.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, we will move on for resolutions for consideration. Resolution number 217-285, 2018 county budget, which includes the 2018 General Appropriation Budget Act resolution, the Appendix A 2017-2018 Bay County user fees, Appendix B, the fiscal year 2018 budget request capital items, Appendix C, the Board of Commissioners 2018 changes to executive's budget, number 5, analysis and highlights of requests for personnel changes for 2018, and number 6, the VIVA Retiree Health Insurance Trust Fund funding recommendations. I want a motion.
I'll move it for discussion.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Discussion will start now. Anyone? Mr. McGick.
I continue to be opposed to per diem pay for county commissioners. I can see it for non-commissioners, but that's on number 20 on page 8, where we get per diem for different things we go to. So I'll vote my opposition. I'll probably still vote for the budget, though. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Kuhn.
All right. Can we get a response from Ms. Beamlander in that, is that work is somebody going to be doing that work, or that work's not going to be done? I know it was kind of dropped on us in December about the health department losing, or having to have a significant fund budget transfer, a couple $100,000. And I know things probably need to be changed and reorganized, but is that particular work going to continue, or are we just not going to do that any longer?
Mr. Joel is not here, he's on vacation, but we had hours of discussion over the health department budget. And this is one of the, not only this position, but also we have a part-time position, a contract employee who signs off on all the lab stuff. And our recommendation was to send that amendment along with the RFP for medical director. So the medical director's responsibility was to sign off on the lab. And that cost us any more money. We would save that position. I believe it was our intent to maintain the other position for some other work that Joel, who recommended that, isn't here to explain how he's going to do all the work. So after the first of the year, then we can have a meeting with personnel and health department and the union.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kuhn.
Did I think during the adoption of the budget, he would be on vacation, but I've got another question too.
Commissioner Kuhn, may perhaps Joel can speak. Are you prepared to speak on that, Joel?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that'll help us a little bit.
So I'm here on Joel Straw's behalf with some
Okay.
talking points. Basically, which was explained somewhat already, we have our lab director is a part-time person. It's basically a signature. So our lab is certified under CLIA requirements. The CLIA requirements certification can be taken care of in-house by our medical director, which will save a large portion of money. I don't know the exact amount, it's over $10,000, I know. The elimination of the position is the restructuring. There's actually 1.5 full-time equivalents right now in the lab. There will continue to be 1.5 full-time equivalents, but the coordinator will be reduced to a 20-hour-a-week position, and then the lab tech will be increased to a full-time position. So it's more of a restructuring of duties. And the talking points I have from Joel Strauss, he estimated about 10 to 15% of the time through the full-time coordinator is spent under what the clear requirements have. And right now, the clear requirements with the staff that is there is grandfathered in, both with the coordinator and also with the lab director, who now signs a piece of paper to make sure that it's legal. So the restructuring makes sense so we can save money, keep that in-house with our medical director. It's something that can be done, I believe, at no cost from what I was told. And then the 2 positions in the lab are basically a restructuring. So
the work will get done.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the work is the same. It'll be this, everything, the business will be as usual in the lab, from what I'm told. So we still keep the water lab. The CLIA requirements can be taken care of through our medical director. And then if anything changes beyond that, if we lose money in the lab, they can look at restructuring beyond that. But from what I'm told, it does not include any reduction in time for employees.
Commissioner Krieger.
Yep, so Joe, on page 79, I think what you just told us is described out on what changes are going to be done. That
Yes.
reflects to what is addressed on page 78.
Yeah, it shows the 2 positions that are eliminated and the 2 positions that are added back. So it shows a deletion and an addition, which it's pretty much the same thing as a restructuring, is I guess the best word I could explain it as. And if you look at 78 and 79, you'll see where those positions are still there, just restructured. The lab coordinator goes down in hours, the lab technician goes up in hours. Just because of the actual duties, the way that the lab works. Only 10 to 15% of the time do we require a lab coordinator. And that lab coordinator will still be there. It's a 50% decrease, so.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? Thanks, Joe. Oh, wait. Mr. Marshall.
I wanted to make a comment, but I just wanted to say that I think in the coming year, in 2018, I'd like to see a more thoughtful process on the compiling of the county budget. I've spoken with directors of my departments who have felt that their input was somewhat excluded from the basically preparation of the final document that's before you. And I'm going to take from now until January 1st probably to review the changes between the executive budget and the preparation of the budget that you have before you to vote on today. But it first was available to me 3:30 Friday afternoon. As you know, there are significant amounts of money being spent on behalf of county government. And I would like to see in the next fiscal year a more open process on developing the budget, possibly even public hearings, discussion and negotiation on some of the items that the county commission adopts as a budget. And so I'd like to begin the budget process earlier and then submit the executive budget probably at a later date to provide more input from not only department heads and county employees, realizing we have a limited amount of money to spend, but seeking input in terms of what priorities ought to be set in terms of where money should be allocated to specific programs in Bay County government. So I would hope that Mr. Redmond would be available, and I know Ms. Presnich is on vacation, a well-deserved vacation, I might add, that she certainly is entitled to, but I'll probably be having some questions, and I don't know if you'll be available, up until the end of December to sort of share your insight, your perspective in terms of, the rationale on some of the decisions that were made in preparing the budget. So just wanted to say this year has been a learning process for me, and so I think we've made a lot of progress. But one thing that I'd like to do is look at the budget processes that are used throughout Bay County at the township level, City of Bay City, state legislature, the federal government, and other counties, how they prepare their budgets. And so to turn a lot of surprises in a very short, compact period in which you have to act on the budget. So maybe next year will be a little smoother process, and I look forward to working closely with everybody to hopefully get more input from our department heads and some of the various departments of county government, as well as the public, at some point. So I'd like to make the process a little more transparent, and I'll be reviewing this budget and hopefully communicating with Mr. Redmond. And I know Kim is on vacation, but she'll probably speak to me if I call her. So I guess that's what I have to say, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for allowing me to make those comments. Look forward to working with the commission on the next budget cycle.
Commissioner Durancheck?
Thank you. And I'm in agreement with County Executive Barsha. This is just the changes on a $140 million budget and stuff that Friday at 4 o'clock is not acceptable. We need to have this information information is the key, so we can make educated decisions and get our directors involved. If we have to make adjustments and cuts, let's get their advice. That's what they're there for. No disrespect to finance or anything else, but if you look at Public Act 139, he's responsible for the finance department stuff. All right? So let's get this stuff to us earlier. That's all I'm asking for. I've been 2 days on this, and probably, 6, 8 hours in the last 2 days just here. I worked all weekend on this thing. There's some things that I'm not happy with here. And I'm hoping, I'm hoping he vetoes some, item veto some of this stuff. Because it's not right. My opinion from the first district. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else?
Any further questions for me?
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
I think that, I think this year was another, some of you folks have been around for a long time, me not as long, but I know it's particularly challenging from a budget point of view because of changes that are made in the state for funding the pensions, for funding the employee benefits after retirement, and that we're not the only county that had the challenge. They all had them, and we're in our pension system is in a lot better shape than many of them. But it was still a challenge to make that fit and to pick up the funding on the OPEBs. It was very difficult, and I know that, like I said, Kim, I know you probably deserve more vacation than you're getting on this thing, but I know you worked Saturdays and you did everything, you did your job and you did extremely well, and you've been doing it for years, and I watched you walk in with 30 pounds of book, probably more books than, it's probably more than most people can carry, but you carry it around all day, you back and forth up and down the stairs, and on behalf of the commission, I think you did a wonderful job, doing that, and you do it every year in and year out, and thank you so much for your time. And we know Mr. Redmond works on this hard too, and all the department heads. It's a very difficult task, and we hope that we hope it works. We want it to work. It's worked so far, and we're still in the black, which is amazing. And a lot of counties can't say that. They're scrambling and trying to figure out where they can rob Peter to pay Paul. But we've made it work. And thank you everyone involved in the whole process. Commissioner Coonan.
Well, one of the reasons, we've done this I've been on the board 18 years, and we've done it pretty much this way. This year is a little tougher because we are proposing to use more fund balance. Last year we used fund balance, but at the end of the year, when everything shook out, we had a surplus. Now we're hoping that would be the case again, but it's a significant, larger component of fund balance that we're using this year. So you got to look at things. I think we should have known before December that we were going to cut a check or do a budget adjustment for $200,000. Something's got to be done. And one of the reasons that we are a county that is in darn good financial shape compared to any other, or most other municipal entities, whether it's at the city, the township, the county levels, because we've had a pretty good process. Now, when times get tough, things get cut. And I've got I had questions. We're not all here full-time. If we were full-time, we would probably wouldn't rely on Bob so much. I think Bob does a great job, but we are all part-time people. Let's just remember that. We're not full-time people. We all got careers, and we do the best that we can with the amount of time that we put into this. Nobody's working 40, 60, 80 hours a week here on county business at this table. So we got to rely on Bob, and we have, and the county's in pretty damn good shape financially because of that. Now, Jim, you've got the right to review something and present it back to the board, and you got every right in the world to do that. I've got some questions. The questions that I have, I want just answers. They're tough, like I got a question here on at the golf course. Eliminate a part-time mechanic spray. I mean, is that work going to be done by somebody? If you don't spray a golf course, you run into quality issues. And maybe there is a plan somewhere. I don't know, but that's a question that I will bring up at some point and get an answer to. But this is not easy. And I guess we all had the opportunity since October. We wanted to look at things and make some suggestions. We could have done it then. From October 1 to today, or to the end of the year, December 31st, we got till December 31st.
And I think in 2018, we ought to start in July. The city starts in March on our budget process. And they're part-time city commissioners also.
The city?
Yes.
Yeah, because their calendar year is...
September.
No, it's July 1. That's why they start.
Yeah.
I mean, we start...
Well, and they're
have
part-time.
plenty of time. I think we start with plenty of time. It's just that if we want to have hearings, I'm more than happy to sit in the hearings, but I haven't heard anybody here say, let's sit down and have hearings. Bring the public in, bring the department heads in, and let's look and see where we're at. We want to do that? I'm more than...
Yeah, I agree. For example, a part-time mechanic for the golf course, we have one certified mechanic there working on a $50,000 mower. It can be a very dangerous situation if you don't have help. Sometimes it takes more than one person to handle a piece of equipment and repair it of that size and that magnitude. So there are a lot of, I think, decisions that could incorporate more information before they're made to make sure that we're not seeing unsafe conditions for our county employees, to prevent accidents or workers' comp claims, but also monitoring our infrastructure so that it doesn't decay. Center Ridge Arms, the Bay County Golf Course, the community center, when you go year after year after year without investing in it, then you have a huge financial headache, which you just alluded to with regard to FIBA. $1.5 million taken out of the budget this year. We're still underfunded. Well, why wasn't that addressed the last 10 years, last 8 years, last 5 years?
You let me, I can respond to that.
Sure.
That was the VIBA, was created by the legislature through Gadsby, I don't know, 35, 36, 37, just to show the general public what the debt was out there for post-healthcare employment, or post-employment healthcare. And because everybody paid as you went, but now they say, no, you've got this $17 million debt for 40 years, but they don't acknowledge that you're going to pay something for 40 years that would reduce that would pay for that. So what they've done is shocked everybody so that in the public sector, employers now are eliminating post-employment health care for new employees. All done by design. So we have to, I guess, address the VIVA because this year in the legislature, they didn't do what some of them wanted to do. But next year, in a lame duck session, they may go even further. And post-employment health care is something that people have earned. It's a benefit. It's part of the wage and benefit package. You don't work, like say, Debbie, you've been here, what, 40 years. 40 years. Not 6 decades? Well, Debbie, you earn every benefit for health care that you're going to get. You know, for 40 years, those that, you know, money was put away for you for your pension and for your health care. It's just that there are a lot of crazies on the right that just don't want to see that. They want everybody for themselves, everybody to fend for themselves. And it's a shame that it is going to that. Jim, I don't think anybody mismanaged the VIVA, period. I think all you got to do is look at pension, 108, 9, 10, 12% funded. The VIVA was something that we took care of our employees who retired, and we did it on a kind of as a pay-as-you-go. But that methodology was changed in Lansing to shock people so that we would do what we did do, eliminated post-employment health care for new people.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, obviously that's a critical issue and one that I strongly support and would like to see us continue to commit on an annual basis our share to make sure that it's solvent. But if we look at, for example, pay raises in Bay County for employees, last December, well-deserved, long overdue pay raises were made, which shortchanged the budget or cost the general fund $1.2 million a year forever. And of course, but I guess what I'm objecting to is going 10 years with no pay raises, which is very hurtful to the employees because inflation continues, whether the government admits it or not. Everything goes up every year. If you're raising a family, it's harder and harder if your pay remains stagnant for a decade or 9 years, I guess specifically, and then to all of a sudden then try to make it right. What you do is you put in peril other critical investments that should be made, you know, this year, because after 10 years we find, you guys did, I wasn't here, the end of December, I understand, then 17% pay raises and I think 5 or 7% pay raises for general employees were finally granted. But that has, along with the VIVA contribution, and I'm not opposed to that, but I'm just saying, I think a more lengthy, more thoughtful process in the budget, hearings and discussions and negotiation. I've never been in a government entity where there wasn't negotiation between the executive branch and the legislative branch on budgets. Or when I was on appropriations for 8 years, we started in February and we completed at the end of the fiscal year on September 30th for October 1st. That whole year, just 8, 9 months, we listened to directors of the various departments, a $54 billion budget. The executive office always was weighing in on what they support, what they thought could be trimmed, what they thought ought to be increased based on their monitoring of the services that the state was offering to its residents. And it just seems like the budget process has been compressed into, at the end of the year, into a very short time frame with very little input from people who are directly impacted by the budget. So I would like to see a more thoughtful, transparent, and public process. And also a negotiation, possibly. You know, a legislative body typically offers amendments to eliminate some. You vote yes to increase funding for a particular program, or you turn it down. Apparently, you have either you knew about the budget before Friday and what it contained, or you've done a massive amount of studying in 72 hours in terms of being prepared to know what you're voting on in this budget today. So I guess, my feeling is this year is over, so go ahead and adopt it. But next year, I would hope the executive branch would have a greater role in providing input into the crafting of the county budget. The executive branch is important. I could veto the budget. I'm not going to at this stage, but I will be carefully reviewing, I guess, what you guys are approving in terms of spending in the budget. So I do have a line item veto that I may exercise on certain appropriations. I'm not going to jeopardize our county employees by vetoing the budget at the end of the year here and have us in January face a crisis without a budget passed. But I'm hopeful this budget process can be moved up in 2018 so that we're not approving a budget days before the end of the year, when it hasn't been presented until, last Friday. Does that make sense?
I'm willing to, myself, to sit in on meetings.
Yeah. Thanks, just wanted to get that
Okay.
included.
Commissioner Durancheck, did you have anything?
No.
Are you good? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I've been through several processes with the budget, different processes. But in May, the county executive sends us a calendar and schedule on how to handle the budget. Well, we tried hard to make your November approval of the budget, but we only get it here October 2nd. And that's a lot to go through in this period of time. The board agreed to what was recommended by the executive branch as far as that. We used to, several years ago, we used to have hearings, morning and night. The commissioners were invited to, and the county executive attended, and we went for 9 days. Whatever process you want to have, then make the recommendation, the board can consider it. But this year, we did exactly what you recommended.
Commissioner Durancheck.
It seems like there should be a happy medium between 9 days and Friday at 4 o'clock. I mean, there's a big area there, and I think we need to just step up, and I'm sure the county executive will take a look at it, step up the information flow earlier, so that you get every finance gets their information earlier. Department heads get their budget requests in, and they have a chance to look at what's going to be impacted to them, because folks, it all comes down to the services to the people too. We want to make sure our employees, that they have a safe environment. For instance, somebody's, about the half a person or whatever taken out at the golf course. That's not safe working on motorized equipment and stuff with one person out there. Got to come up with a solution. That should have all been worked out. At 4:25, there shouldn't be a scurry, a bunch of people looking. No, we should already have that done, like other places do. Not 4 o'clock on Friday, folks. It's not right. It's not enough time. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate Mr. Redmond's suggestion, and we will be definitely taken into consideration. We will start the budget process much earlier. And I do think, Bob, your suggestion on the public hearings and the transparency is welcome, would be welcome news. And the commissioners can attend if they're available. I know they're part-time and all have full-time jobs, and they may not be able to be there, but at least we can have a record of, people who want to address the officials of county government regarding the expenditure of the taxpayers' dollars. And I'm disappointed, for example, in animal control, that some people who have worked hundreds of hours and asked for a couple of part-time positions, and in fact, I guess no new positions in this budget. And even though the executive budget was lower than the budget you presented to the commissioners, so it's not like we're spendthrifts. But I just think there are certain things that ought to be improved in the departments, and it seems like there hasn't been enough discussion. It's been kind of decisions being made in a vacuum. So anyway, we'll try to do better next year, and I and Bob will get together and try to work out a process on the budget that will be improved over this year's. And I should have being new to the county executive position, perhaps I should have begun the process much sooner, in probably late summer or midsummer at that point.
Well, the bottom line is we'll figure it out. We always do when we get it, and we'll take care of it. And we'll move on from here. We had great dialogue. Everybody, we're all still friends, so we know what we have to do, and we'll move forward from here. It'll be a good thing. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you take a roll call, please?
Sure. We start with Durancheck today. Durancheck.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Yes.
Coonan.
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
Lutz.
Yes.
And Herrick.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on. Resolution number 217-286, Dude Solutions. I'd like a motion to refer to the February meeting.
So moved.
Support?
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then, resolution number 217-287, Motorola MCC 78500 dispatch console purchase.
So moved. Support?
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 217-288, Motorola land mobile radio purchase from 911.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Krieger.
So, other,
He's coming.
He's coming.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
hey, good afternoon. Enjoying the Bay, are you?
Yes, I am, very much so.
Very good. So if we purchase these radios, how many townships have locked in a commitment to buying them from us at a better price, because we're going to save $56,000 by doing this before the end of December 26th?
Right around half of the agencies are participating. Of those, a number of them aren't purchasing all of the radios just because it's prohibitive to purchase them. It's because of the price point. So for some townships, they might be buying just portables and maybe not mobiles. Maybe they're buying half of the number of portables that they have in their cash and looking for maybe a future discount to take opportunity of. So there's a number of them purchasing radios, but not all are purchasing all of the radios. A total turnover in radios just based on what they have available for a match.
So after we buy these
Yeah.
and we disperse what we have commitments to, how many are we actually going to carry in inventory then?
So our unmet need in the county, when I say unmet need, radios that aren't new, that wouldn't be purchased after this round, at the end of this year, about 330 radios. If we received a similar discount that we received this time with Motorola, would constitute about $1.75 million of radios still would need to be purchased at some point in the future.
So if I understand what you just said, these radios that we're making a commitment to now will be dispersed out. We're not going to be sitting on an
Correct.
inventory of radios then?
No, we would not be sitting on an inventory of radios, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Chris, I go to this, I like to show up at your 911 meetings. I know you've been working on this a long time. And, it's a great deal. And over in Franklin, Rust, and Portsmouth, where the other two union places I represent, they're very happy with the purchase of this radio. They know, that based on the price and the guarantee, that this is a great deal for the township. They actually, and the chiefs, they sold it to their boards too. Well, I don't know what you did with the boards, but the fire chiefs both sold it to their boards too, and they recognize a good deal. I mean, the 10-year guarantee on a radio is unheard of. I think in the long run, it's going to save everybody a lot of money, including, we have the sheriff's department, and I think they're pretty happy with it. And I think you did a wonderful job with this, and thank you. A lot of time, but everybody likes the deal, man.
Yeah, it was a good deal. We made a lot of phone calls just to get it in front of the different municipalities. And yeah, one of the selling points was that 10-year warranty, which is unheard of. Usually it's Standard in the industry is a 2-year warranty and purchase a 3rd-year warranty. So an additional 7 years is unheard of.
Commissioner Krieger.
One more question. So as these radios are replacing the old equipment, is there a value to them? Is it something that we can ship off to another
As
area?
part of this deal, it was kind of, I'm going to say, cash for clunkers, if you remember that. So we have to turn in, those agencies have to turn in the old radios to kind of get them off of the street instead of reuse those as part of this.
Okay, so they're not sitting anywhere.
No, they're not sitting anywhere.
Thank you.
Chris, how old are the radios we're replacing?
It depends on the radio, anywhere from 2007 to probably 2011, 12. In the radios that were received in 12, they sat in storage for, as I recall, at least 2 years, where they were purchased through a Homeland grant, and then they sat. So I remember when they were distributed out to the agencies, there was no warranty left on the radios, and we had to beg Motorola for an additional year. We had some Homeland Security grant issues, and they didn't get distributed, and they sat for quite a long time.
Now, you say you got a 10-year warranty, is that software as well?
Yeah, it's everything except for they consider the consumables. So the radio, the only thing that's not warranty covered would be the antenna, which they consider a consumable, and the battery itself of the radio. Everything else, like the only software with the radio that we are responsible for, because we maintain the radios as far as the programming at Central Dispatch, is about $500 a year annual software to keep a license for programming.
Now, those different governmental entities that didn't purchase radios, for whatever reason, I don't know, are their radios going to be compatible?
Yes, the radios are compatible with our existing MPSCS system. So the radios that are currently out in the community and used by the agencies, they are compatible, yes.
Commissioner Begay.
And would that be Monitor and Auburn Williams that have radios? I don't see them on the list, so do they have radios already, or they're not participating?
They are not participating in this radio purchase.
Yeah.
And I know part of that was the late date in which the opportunity became available to purchase radios. So depending on in their budget cycle, a lot of these agencies, it just wasn't in the cards for them. I know, for instance, the city of Bay City had to move a lot of things around to make this available and make this work. I worked closely with the city to kind of make this work. So they're an expensive piece of equipment. They're a needed piece of equipment. It's really almost a radio, but it's also almost a computer on your hip, the way these devices are built. And they're really, really cost prohibitive for agencies to use and maintain.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sounds good. No more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 217-289, vacancy on Department on Aging and the County Executive Director of Administrative Services.
So moved.
Support?
Discussion. Commissioner Lutz.
I just wanted to ask, is there going to need to be any time where Debbie needs to train somebody?
Well, Debbie has indicated she'd like to leave by February 1st, and it would be nice if we could bring someone on board that would have some time to spend with Debbie. As I mentioned, I think she's pretty much irreplaceable, but it would be great to have someone who would have an opportunity to spend some time with her and acclimating to the many, many responsibilities that she's undertaken in her Director of Administrative Services role. So would be great if the board could bring someone on earlier. We haven't, I don't really have anyone particularly in mind at this point, and so we'll be immediately looking at, potential candidates for replacing Debbie.
Commissioner Lutz, I think it's a great idea, because anybody, she's been in her position more than 5 years, and so she's going to need to train somebody.
And I bring that up because that's not part of our motion to cover those additional expenses.
Well, we could always make an adjustment.
Right.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm propose anything. And we include some hours that we can work for training and new replacement.
She's good.
Well, we could add that in January.
Correct.
The one we think about how we should be wording that and bring it to the board on January.
Yep, I think it's a great idea.
Sounds good, yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2017-290, the agreement with the Michigan Department of Environmental
So
Quality.
moved.
Support. Discussion. Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you. Joel, if I could, we talked I think it was maybe last month or the month before, about situations that happened at the state park with, there was a beach closure on a Thursday, Friday, and then there wasn't anything done through a long weekend. That with the agreement with the DEQ, that we'll make an attempt to not have that long weekend of a beach closure if we could come back through and get a green light on it, say, for people to swim in again. So I'm hoping that that's going to be addressed, and we'll have the support and backing of the MDEQ if need be.
That particular weekend, and I guess I need to explain, our lab cannot take samples on a Friday without them coming in on a Saturday and paying overtime. We try and keep that to a minimum or down to zero to save money in laboratory costs.
Well, I understand that, but if it turns out that it's in July or August and it's a hot weekend and we have a closure because of a storm that came through, but yet if it was tested on Saturday and it passed, we would certainly affect in a positive way the hundreds of kids coming into the playscape and the spray park and the campers and whatnot. So,
Yeah, a couple of things with that. Saginaw Valley does a lot of our testing. They are unable to do weekend testing. We are able, if we were allowed to pay our staff overtime. Now, that particular weekend, we had high winds, we had rain before that. When we have very high winds,
I understand.
large
Water
waves,
gets riled up.
we know that if we go out and sample, that the results will be detrimental, and it'll continue with the closing. We had made a decision at that point not to sample because we knew that it would continue to be high. We had a 24-hour turnaround, so it would have been late on a Saturday before we could even release anything if we figured we'd have safe water. Because we made that decision, I remember that time when we looked at it and said, there's no way the beaches will be safe yet because of the weather and the winds, and we can do some predictions on what we're going to have.
Sure.
Numbers.
Well, rest assured, this summer, I am on the board with the Friends of Bay State Rec, and work pretty close with George on quality issues on the beach. I need to make sure that we have quality issues in the water also. So don't be surprised if phone calls are going out to not have that delay. And I'll work with the county exec to make sure that, funds are needed to make sure that we have our recreation and our tourism to come out to the beach, that they have access to the water.
Right.
So,
Yeah, if we had the funding, we could do more sampling, and that wouldn't be a problem, but
okay.
of course, funding's always an issue, and we're trying to keep our
Sure.
costs down, and we have to make decisions based on that. If it's a public health issue and we feel we could have opened the beaches, we would have been out sampling, we would have found a way. So-
Unfortunately, we didn't, but we will in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to meet and talk about that sometime, actually.
I'm available.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Here we go, number 7. Is there any unfinished business? Any new business? Miscellaneous. My miscellaneous for tonight is, we have, there's been some remarks on MLive about the county board and the administration and the county not doing anything with the bridges, how we sort of dropped the ball, they left it at us, they gave us every chance to do whatever they think they want to do, which they don't know yet. So what we did was we crafted a letter on behalf of the commission and the administration that will be going to the city to basically state that they haven't asked us for anything yet. They have asked us for nothing, but they like to say they did, but some obviously they didn't. And so we just wanted to make sure that they know, that everyone knows that they didn't, and that we didn't drop the ball. The ball hasn't even, they haven't shot it on our side of the basket yet, but they will, but just not yet. Commissioner Coonan.
I saw the letter too, and there's a big issue there, big problem there, and we're elected to solve problems. So I don't want to take signs that they did this and we did this. We all got to come together, come up with a solution to this. It's easy to come in here every Tuesday, rubber stamp everything, and walk out and think that you're something. This is a major issue that I would be happy to sit on and work on behalf of the county, on behalf of the residents in my district, but the residents in the city and the county, because those bridges are vital. And I'm not one to pass the buck and hope that something, you forget about a problem, hope it goes away. This one's not going away. So I'm looking forward to trying to be part of something to resolve a major problem that we have in this community. So however that goes, I know we have to start at some point, but I think you have to educate the general public on what is at stake here. So I look forward to working with whoever it may be to resolve those issues and to enlighten the general public as to how it's going to impact them either way. So I don't want to take sides and blame somebody. The blame game don't work here.
Mr. Barshik.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to blame anyone, but I know and Commissioner Durancheck, I think Commissioner Begic and Commissioner Lutz, and of course Chairman. I've met 5 times with the city, twice at city commission meetings, 5 times with city staff. We're willing, of course I'm willing, and it's up to the commission to determine what your role will be. We realize that Independence Bridge and Liberty Bridge are vital to Bay County and to transportation for our citizens getting around the city and the county. However, the city commission has not developed a consensus on what they want to do. When we've talked to them, the prices have ranged on the bridge replacement from $80 million to as high as $250 million. And there are a number of statutes and revenue bonds, millage, tolls that have been thrown out there, but there is no consensus as of last night when I spoke to several of the commissioners individually and the mayor. I think what we need to do, since it is a city asset currently under their control, is if they can come together, coalesce around one plan, one proposal, would make it much easier for Bay County to support that proposal, whatever it may be. And also determine if the federal and state governments are going to play a role in funding repair or replacement of the bridges, or it's going to be totally borne by the local taxpayers. So they're very controversial, as all of you know, but I think when the heat came down in the city, some of the commissioners, particularly the city commission president, tried to shift it to the county commission's responsibility. And when the bridge was built, it was really on recommendation of the Bay County Road Commission. And I believe a bond, Andrew, I think was floated to provide a significant portion of funding of the Independence Bridge. The issue over the years has been maintenance. When I was in Congress, I authored an amendment to the member of the Surface Transportation Committee on ICE-T, passed the House to connect M15 to I-75 and make it totally a state responsibility. Went to the Senate, Governor Engler opposed it, MDOT opposed it, was removed. I wasn't a conferee, and so we tried our best to to alleviate the local cost and replacement of that bridge by making it the responsibility of MDOT and state government. But many legislators have tried, and we've all failed to get that accomplished. So we certainly, county has a role to play, but I think the city commission needs to continue to discuss and collaborate on whatever they think they can put forth as a single plan. So far, depending on the commissioner you talk to, each has their own plan on what they'd like to do with it.
Thank you. Any other miscellaneous? Any announcements? Commissioner Krieger.
Yeah, for those of us knowing that there's 4.5 days of Christmas left, or before Christmas, to do our shopping, I would encourage those of us that haven't to shop local.
Thank you. And on behalf of the Bay County Commission and maybe administration, I'd like to wish everyone who watches this Merry Christmas. Who we point to? Who are you pointing to?
I was going to.
Go ahead. Were you going to say that?
I was, Mr. Chair, but Mr. Chair.
We want everybody to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Is there any need for closed session today, man? Perfect.
Motion to adjourn. Always in order. Order.
All in favor?
Aye.